Welcome to the Medium channel where we bring you the spirituality behind the message. And today it's all about tarot time and the weekly forecast. What's going on in the world? We've got a whole lot to talk about this morning. It is crazy out there. But as long as we stay in the vibration of the heart, we can stay in the eye of the storm. We can access spirit. We can access higher knowledge, higher wisdom. And together, we can get through this crazy time and emerge from it better than ever, more enlightened than ever, healthier, more whole, more complete, and more powerful than ever. And that's what this great awakening, that's what this transition is all about. So if you're here watching us as a video, I talk for a minute or two just to let the live people get their notifications and come in. And then we'll jump into a little bit of, just a tad of current events. The last week I spent way too long talking about what's going on in the world, and we wound up having a very long session. We're going to try to keep these at 45 minutes, even shorter, because we don't need a whole lot of time on a Sunday morning on a holiday weekend to give you the weekly forecast from the tarot, to give you the meditation card, what to work on this week, how to access spirit more efficiently, given the energies of what's going on this week. We have Mercury going retrograde. So Mercury is moving very slowly now. The planet of movement is barely moving, and it's going to, toward the end of the week, stop dead in its track. And then next weekend, start to go backwards. So we have Mercury retrogrades 3 to 4 times a year. Not to worry so much about that. It's just time to step back and review things. Not necessarily the best time to push forward on things. And keep your computers running well. Clean out those computers, because Mercury retrograde, when you couple that with Mars getting ready to go retrograde at the end of October, that can wreak havoc on technology. So anyway, hello everybody, welcome. And I see we have Sharita Starr, our very gifted and very talented, intuitive. I'm the tarot. Well, she might read tarot too, but I was going to say astrologer and numerologist. It's a Sunday morning, but I haven't had breakfast. I still have a smile on my face. So it's all good. It's a holiday weekend. So very good. I see a lot of people have jumped on in the last minute already. Yes, Sharita is definitely in the house. Michael and Susan and Colleen. So my fellow inmates are with me today. Thank you for coming on today. I've been just all over the place lately, and I had to write a few things down. But let's just kind of get down and get into this morning. Firstly, and this kind of popped into my mind 2 days ago. I was meditating on my creek, and by the way, for people that have been missing the uploads that we do on Thursdays, that have been missing the all the live events that we've cut back the last couple of weeks, we're going to start to go back into our regular schedule next week. So we're going to probably have a Thursday upload. That depends on my editor. If that's not able to happen, we'll do a live stream Thursday evening, but we're going to go back to that. And Tuesday at 7, I think we're going to do the September psychic predictions, or psychic forecasts, I should say, because, when you talk about predictions, time is fluid and it's dependent on collective consciousness. So we have the power, not necessarily to change things that are already set in motion, but to basically at least influence the outcomes of things, or influence how events happen and events unfold, based upon our collective consciousness, based upon our energy and our vibrations, and given the fact that we're part of a much larger collective. So, one person's not going to move the needle a whole lot. But if you get 1 million people with the same heart, the same desires to create positive change, then all of a sudden that can start to move the needle of the collective consciousness. So we are community here. There's a lot of other people on YouTube and social media that are also awakening or awakened, to different levels or varying degrees, that are here to help also to uplift us and to help create community. That's what we need. We need to kind of come together. So one of the things that Spirit was saying is really be aware of those false spiritual teachers. They've always been around. That's the coyote, the trickster. The trickster teaches us into learning and knowledge. And the thing is that a lot of people are really going through a lot. I mean, you don't need me to tell you that. I mean, look what's been going on the last 2.5 years. But a lot of people have really been going through a lot. They're looking for answers. They're seeking answers. A lot of people are starting to get an inkling, if not a full awakening, and they're seeking answers from a more spiritual perspective. Well, what happens? Like all the vultures swoop down and try to pick at the flesh of those poor people that just want to grow and want to evolve. It's all part of we used to call it the grand plan. Now we have words like the elite, the cabal, and deep state. But back in the 70s and 80s, when I first started to study things like government conspiracies, UFOs, and all that stuff, we had a term called the grand plan, and how we'd actually predicted, around this time, how this kind of stuff was going to happen, just sort of based on the trajectory. But let me not digress too much. The message is to be aware of those spiritual teachers that are not authentic, that they're here to divert your attention, to send you down another rabbit hole, and understand that the collective consciousness and those that govern the collective consciousness. So yes, there are world leaders that are behind or above, the governments, the corporations, all these trends in society. And if people awaken, it's bad for their business. So if you look back, look at this pandemic, and there have been lockdowns, and what businesses benefit from that? Amazon comes right to mind. We have the prospect of oil prices going up again, especially heating oil, stuff like that. We had a huge spike in gas prices. They've come down somewhat since, blamed on Russia. And I'm not saying that what's going on in Russia is irrelevant. It certainly is very relevant to what's going on. But if you go a little bit deeper than that, understand or look into the fact that oil companies like Exxon and what are the other ones? There are 2 or 3 of them that are recording record profits right now, and prices are going up. When prices go up, that's because there's a shortage. But how could there be a shortage if the oil companies are having record profits? Plus, they're getting tax breaks from the governments. They lobby the governments. They get tax breaks. So they're not paying as much taxes as we are. And if you add to that, and I don't have the percentages written down, but suffice it to say that the USA, so I'm in the United States, so we'll focus on this country, is exporting, I don't know what the percentage is. I think it's like 4 or 5 times as much oil as I could be wrong about the details, but suffice it to say that we export more oil than we ever imported from Russia. Basically, I think Russia makes up 7 to 8% of the total exported oil in the United States, or imported oil, excuse me. And yes, the USA still imports more than it exports, but again, we are exporting more oil than we're importing from. Anyway, you take everything and look into this, and you have to look at least the possibility of profiteering from the big companies. And again, you can look at things that happened in the pandemic also. And so I wrote a few things down. But anyway, getting back to the main point, watch out for those charlatans that come across as spiritual teachers. A lot of them know how to work consciousness. A lot of them know how to do magic, ceremonial magic, Wicca, all that stuff, to get you to believe that you are having a spiritual experience in their presence, or somehow their presence is eliciting some kind of a higher consciousness or state of higher consciousness. But meanwhile, there's energetics that they apply to manipulate you into believing that. So be aware of that. Trust your heart. That is the message. When you can get into the heart frequency and the heart vibration, then You are aligned with spirit. You are aligned with truth, and you cannot be fooled. You feel it. And I tell you, I see this all the time, having a YouTube channel, I get to see a lot. And, I could sniff out a phony like a mile away, but that's because I work and cultivate the heart. I work on purging the fears, because that's how they will get you. They will hook you through what your fear is, how you've been programmed, and all that stuff. So that's one thing that I wrote down. Just be aware of that, and also be aware that there's going to be even more scams, more sophisticated scams, as money continues to get squeezed out of the lower and middle class through taxes and and all that other stuff. And then it continues to be funneled into the very biggest corporations, like the oil companies, like the pharmaceutical companies, and so forth. More and more people are getting desperate. So there's going to be more scams, more crime, more scams coming. Be aware of that. So these are just a few things that Spirit was sort of downloading. Blindly inspired. Yeah, watch out for blind inspiration, stuff like that. Again, the solution is to be in the heart frequency, and it has to be done on a daily basis, because again, just understand that humanity awakening means that the whole power structure has to change on this planet, and those few that are benefiting from people being not awake and being very easily manipulated and controlled and programmed, they profit from that. And there's many, many different layers of that. And I could be talking for an hour or two, breaking that all down, but I don't want to do that this morning. I want to get on to other things. But just be aware of all the distractions going on around our former president here in the US, Donald Trump. You may recall in August, I did the psychic prediction for August. One of the predictions was expect more controversy, more news around Trump. Days later, the FBI raids came in. Now, also, what I'm hearing in the background is that should he be convicted of something, should he be prevented from running, should this, that, or the other thing, he's got such a strong backing that there has already been threats of civil war. There's already been threats of assassinations. We predicted all of this for this time period. It's starting to come out. It's starting to come to life. Again, stay in the heart, stay in your power, stay with spirit. That's how we're going to get through this. So I wrote a few things down. Oh, new findings on pandemics suggest natural immunity better than vaccines. That just suggests. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's true, but um, just months ago, people had their YouTube channels taken down for suggesting that natural immunity may be equivalent to the vaccinations, as far as immunity is concerned. And people have lost jobs based on that or whatever. Now we're sort of at a period where they're kind of coming out and saying, well, the new studies suggest, again, there's nothing conclusive about this. So, and I just want to put this out there that I'm not trying to what's the right word, fulfill any agendas or impose my personal views on you. I mean, yeah, I'm human. Everything that I get is going to be filtered through my programming, my conditioning, my prejudices, whatnot, yeah, and all that stuff. But that said, just looking at what's going on and everything, and so the new findings suggest that now, as far as, and I say this a lot, as far as getting vaccines go, that's a personal choice. Do the potential benefits to both yourself and the people around you outweigh the potential risks or whatever. Now, again, there's nothing conclusive, but just months ago, you talk about natural immunity. Would have been medical misinformation. That now, studies are suggesting that's true. Of course, the other side of the coin is, in order to get natural immunity, you have to have gotten COVID, and therefore face the risk of death, face the risk of long-term symptoms or whatever. So, the vaccine's got to be a personal choice. But go back 2.5 years. Those of you that have been following me that long, I told you basically what the virus is, how to, and what I was able to bring through from spirit anyway, what it is, what the purpose of it is, both on the spiritual level as well as a society control level, how it spreads, how to stay safe or whatever. And now as more and more stuff comes out, that's proving to be more and more accurate. Again, we're never 100% accurate, but the point being is that I have been privy to information all along from spirit about this whole pandemic, and I believe that'll continue to happen. So stick with this community. We are here to give you accurate, non-biased information to keep us safe, to help us awaken and grow, and to help to keep everybody else safe also. So again, I'm not anti-vax or whatever, but in my way of thinking, when this virus was starting to come in, the idea would have been to make the focus on keeping people alive. That should have been focus number one. It's like we have a novel virus that's more transmissible than the flu. We're not going to be able to stop this. I mean, that was a given. I mean, how can we stop it? Slowing it down, whether it's through lockdowns, through vaccines or whatever, only allows the virus to fester more and for more variants to show up. That was being blamed on the non-vaxxers. And it was also being said that get the new like Pfizer, Moderna vaccine, and you're granted 95% effectiveness. It was never 95% effective, and there are whistleblowers that are coming out saying that this was never going to be not that effective. People that work for the companies are coming out and saying that. So basically, again, the 75, even 50% effective is better than 0% effective. This is not an anti-vax statement or anything like that. It's a statement on how society controls us, who benefits, who profiteers from what's going on, who suffers. We suffer, the big companies benefit. Now, new studies are suggesting, again, nothing conclusive, and how can you validate it, that lockdowns actually took more lives than it saved. And how they get this information, they look into people, that suicides, drug overdoses, people that died of like heart attacks, cancer. They couldn't get the care they needed because they were afraid because of the lockdowns. All of that stuff plays in. Lockdowns, I always thought, was a very primitive way of dealing with things. Certainly modified or controlled, I don't even want to say lockdowns, and then the economy, all this stuff. And meanwhile, all focus, in my opinion, should have been on saving lives. Like, what can we do when people get sick to save their lives? And and as we look back, we see that all the stuff that they tried and that happened, still they report over 1 million deaths around the world. It didn't exactly work. So anyway, end of that. So the other thing is, if governments just come clean with things, we say this a lot also. And again, I'm already seeing that I'm talking too long about this stuff. So just quickly, the idea is that the governments do not give us the information, and that fosters all these conspiracy theories. And when you add to that you get remarkable consistency amongst people put under hypnosis, especially about UFOs and the different influences from different alien races and so forth. You look up what's her name? Dolores Cannon's information. She has some really good stuff, and other people. But in any event, if the governments just say, this is a new virus, we don't know exactly what's going on, and they talk to the people, don't try to mandate things and pretend they know things that they don't, and then have all the mandates being geared towards big companies profiting. Anyway, I think that you get the idea. So I mean, if the governments and the officials are like, your safety comes first, this is what we believe is happening, but this is a new virus, we're still researching it, we are working on a vaccine, but it's experimental. Just be honest, just be transparent with the people and foster democracy. The way things are being done, it really becomes more like communist dictatorship, the way things are being done. And so anyway, let me just see what else I wrote down. All right. Anyway, I think that's good. So back to tarot, or starting with, or starting to get more into tarot. And Eudora the Floyd. What are you guys saying? I'm missing out on all the fun here. The fun effects. Okay. Oh, you found. Okay. Yeah, I'm missing all part of control and manipulation. I adore the Floyd. Who's the Floyd? If you're talking about Pink Floyd, I like Pink Floyd too. I don't know if that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah. So we have Mercury Retrograde coming, right? That's the 10th, I believe. So that's the official beginning of the retrograde. You have Mars going to be going retrograde a little bit after that as well. So these are a few things coming. There's other fun aspects of that are floating around. So she's saying yes, Pink Floyd, yes. Yeah, I like Pink Floyd too. It's been one of my favorites. All right, so tarot cards, playing cards evolved out of tarot. For those that don't know that, so you have 4 suits in the tarot, 4 suits in playing cards. You have the major arcana, the cards that look something like, if I can find a major arcana card somewhere in this deck, something like this. And it's interesting. I feel the Hermit card, because that's key 9. Let's see if the I don't know what's going on with the focus. I don't know, something off with the focus. Anyway, you can see a blurry version of the Hermit card. Anyways, so that's key 9 in the tarot. But all the major arcana card in the tarot became the Joker and playing card. So that's how that happened. And they were basically like for meditation and for art. And there's a game called Taroki. So anyway, just a little brief history. I want to pull a meditation card. Hermit is Virgo. Yes, Hermit is Virgo. Hermit is also key 9. September's the 9th month. And it's about prudence, about forethought. It's about wisdom from above. Again, we want to every day be present. Every day when you wake up in the morning, don't look at the cell phone. Don't get plugged into that machine right away. Once we wake up, we're still with spirit. As soon as we wake up, we're coming back into our meat suits, back into our physical bodies, from hanging out with our star families, with our guides, with our deceased loved ones, and then we start to have the dreams that can turn into lucid dreams, and then we wake up. Right at that moment, most people, the first thing they do is they think about what they need to do that day, or they put the cell phone on or whatever, and you get plugged right into that programming machine. Instead, meditate, do some breathing exercises, expand the heart, expand the mind, call on spirit, start your day with spirit. Don't start your day with control from those that want to pull the money out of your pocket and give it to the big businesses, so that government, business, and everything about this world can be centralized to benefit a select few at the detriment of a great many. Don't start your day that way. If I sound a little bit like a drill sergeant, I just filmed a new online course that's going to be available in a month or two on my website called Psychic Boot Camp, where I get to kind of be a little bit like a drill sergeant. It's kind of a fun class when it comes out. So I may sound a little bit like, oh, your birthday's 9/9. What a great birthday. Sharita would definitely have a lot to say about that. Very Mars, right? The 9 is completion. I always thought of 9 as, even before I knew more about numerology, 9 to me was always a very powerful energy. I always just found it to be very powerful for whatever reason. But I was so fascinated with numbers when I was a kid. By the time I was 4 and a half, I could add numbers in the thousands in my mind. I could add more proficiently than I could talk when I was 4 years old, to be quite honest. Yeah. I'm not aware that I called you out, Teresa. But yeah, I'm sorry. All right, so let's do our meditation card. And the other thing is, let's have fun. The more laughter, the more we raise our vibrations. We need high vibrations. Yeah, I look red this morning. I've been getting ample sun lately, I guess. Actually have a good camera setup now, so that's why the pictures have been a lot clearer lately on my live stream. So for meditation card, this is an interesting one. Although, why is this I'm not understanding why the cards are out of focus like this. It's probably something to do that I have to adjust in the camera. But anyway, I think even fuzzy, you can get the idea of what the card looks like as I pull it back and it gets closer to me. That's the key. It's sort of focusing more on me. I don't know. Anyways, this is the ten of wands. Anyways, and so the meditating with cards is for this particular card, and this is may come up as the theme of this morning. You get nice and relaxed, get very present, step into the card. This is like a doorway to a whole new world, a whole new reality. So you step in and check out what's going on in this whole new reality. And basically, because the Ten of Wands is really about carrying weight, it's responsibility, but sometimes it's being weighed down by responsibility. It can be very successful. You can find your guides in this card and ask them to give you some insight of what's weighing you down right now. What's weighing your energy down? What's causing it for it to be hard for you to move? What's causing any physical illness or emotional or psychological distress or whatever. Ask your guides and get the insight. So when you step into the card, see if maybe this figure. He's an older gentleman. With all the wands, the wands can represent his successes in life, but it could also represent his burdens as well. So ask what the message is and what it is that maybe you're holding on to that you don't need anymore. We're in the 9th month. It's a universal 6-month in numerology, what Sharita calls the year mastering the art of compassion. And September, in my way of seeing things, the year's energy culminates in September because of that 9, that powerful 9, that everything, when you add 9, reduces to the original number. Like 3 plus 9 is 12. 12 is a 3 in numerology because 1 and 2 is 3. You take the example of the number 4, add 9 to 4, you get 13. What does 1 plus 3 equal? It equals 4. So 9 will always reduce back to the number, back to the base number to begin with. So when we hit the 9th month and we're in the 6th year, well, that becomes a 15 month. Number 15, in my way of seeing it, because it's the devil card in the tarot, beckons us to let go of what we don't need anymore. The devil card shows us what we hold, what we're holding on to, what we're what we're bound to, what binds us in life. So we had this beautiful 6, this Venus energy with the form of 15, which is showing us, especially with the Mercury retrograde, is showing us exactly what it is that we are still holding on to, that's keeping us from having a pure experience of spirit, or to connecting to spirit as much as we're able to do that. Remember, you are spirit. You don't have to connect to anything. You just have to find what's within your heart, because you are spirit. We're having human experiences, but we are spirit. So utilize that energy and utilize this card also to help you to let go of any attachments that are keeping you from evolving and ascending at this time. That to me is a big part of the September energy. And so Sharita is elaborating on that. And there's the universal month of the magician. Thank you. Yeah. So the magician in tarot is actually key one, and it's very mercurial, and Virgo is ruled by Virgo's ruled by Mercury. So anyway, let's do a 3-card. Thank you. I'm just, as I'm doing this, I'm kind of catching up on your messages also, which is kind of cool. All right. So Michael's touching on the corruption of the education system. Again, who's benefiting from the corruption of the education system? They said it in the movie Thrive. If anybody saw that when it was active on the internet, and in many different sources, just follow the money. The money, following the money is going to lead you to the answer. And until collectively we do ascend into another level where we understand money more and more as a tool for personal power and growth rather than a tool of control by outside forces. So anyway, let's do our 3-card spread to just ask Spirit what to expect this week. Last week it came out, the cards came out pretty, that's the right word. I guess daunting is the right word. And, if you look at the news, it's been a tough week around the world for sure. Jackson, Mississippi doesn't have any drinking water because of floods. There's fires raging. Now you can look around, there's Gorbachev just passed on. That's really big news. Very, very interesting given the timing of what's going on in Russia and Ukraine right now. A lot of stuff's going on, and the cards definitely were trying to give us a synopsis of what to expect on that. I don't even remember what I said or what I pulled, but I just remember as things started to unfold, like, yep, Spirit was telling us that. Looking at these cards, and I'm just kind of like the expression "beware of Romans bearing gifts" is the thing that popped up in my mind as soon as I saw these cards. And they're not bad cards this week. They're actually good cards. But I looked at this as like, beware of the Romans bearing gifts. It's like, what's behind it? Why is that? And the 6 of Pentacles, that's often about unearned income in the tarot. That's like money that's being given to us. Now, the Magician, we just talked about the Magician card. Sharita must be psychic, right? He's reversed, though, very interesting. And the 9 of Pentacles is forward. I feel like there's a very succinct and distinct messages going on here. Basically, beware of the gifts. The Magician is what does the Magician do? Creates, right? Does magic, creates. It's Mercury energy. Mercury is the cosmic trickster, amongst other things. The coyote of the planets, in my way of seeing them. That's not necessarily a bad thing because we get tricked into learning. Also, I look at it was on the Inspired channel. John Nolan's channel was talking about the trickster and about the devil and everything, Lucifer, and how that's really the trickster, basically, and how all cultures have a trickster, some representation of that. And I commented on this video and just saying, well, in some translation of the Bible, though I don't remember which one, they kind of expanded on the story of Lucifer and talked about once he left the kingdom of God, took 1/3 of his angels, wreaked havoc on the earth. Once all the havoc was done, Lucifer returns back to God, and out of the shambles that he left on the planet, humanity regrows into a more enlightened state, into a more enlightened species. So we're maybe we're having a Lucifer experience now on the world. Who knows? But you might expect at least some news about something more positive about the economy, basically. Now, and I talked about this in the beginning, expecting, oil prices are going up, heating oil, natural gas, and all that stuff. Meanwhile, these companies are making record profits. So, go figure, and are getting tax breaks from governments on top of that. But yeah, but there may be some more like stimulus or some more help offered from the governments or whatever. But again, beware of Romans bearing gifts. I think that's the expression. Um, and I feel like this is telling us that it's really important to be grounded this week. It's going to be very easy for us to get off our game. This could be more in terms of cosmic energy, like solar flares, or combined with all the unrest in the collective consciousness. Um, there may be more like in the way of extraterrestrial or channels information coming in. People that don't consider themselves channels, I think, are going to start to get more channeled information. So if you guys meditate, be aware of that. Things that come through, pay attention to that also. Oh my God, I'm looking at all of this. And so should we just giving us a little bit of Chaldean numerology that even in the tarot, even key 15 is the devil. The devil is still an aspect of the magician, basically. So anyway, and Nine of Pentacles is good because that tends to relate to a little bit more comfort, a little bit more sovereignty. I feel like it's telling us because there's a lot of nature energy here to get into nature, get outside. I say this probably every week that everything, anything that causes stress, fear, and anxiety kind of um, takes energy from us. It takes us off of our spiritual flow. Basically, it disconnects us from source because when we feel stress and worry, anxiety, it's a survival instinct, or it's supposed to be. I mean, nowadays it's taken into social and different contexts. But the point being is that in order to when there's a survival instinct happening, we tend to get focused more on the physical at the expense of the spiritual. But what we really need to do is expand with the heart, not to contract. So when we feel fear and anxiety, we tend to contract our hearts, contract our auras, and deal with the physical aspects of a physical threat to our physical lives. But hearing somebody disagreeing with you on Facebook that supports Trump and you support Biden, it's not a reason to go into survival instincts and to close the heart down. So again, be aware, every day, start your day off with heart expansion. Set the intention every morning that I'm going to stay in my power. I'm going to stay in my heart. I'm going to stay in my sovereignty. I'm going to stay with spirit. And times when you feel stress and anxiety, you catch yourself, do a little bit of long, deep breathing, focusing on the heart again. The heart frequency is the eye of the storm. When you expand with the heart, you expand with the brain also, because the two organs have are two parts of the same organ. Basically, science is proving this more and more. So if you do heart brain coherence or just heart coherence, you automatically do brain coherence, and then you expand into spirit that way. So do these things. I want to say also. And what else is trying to say? A lot with money. So again, keep an eye on your investments. We say that all the time. I feel like you're saying up and down, but I think that there may be something that comes up either later in the week or next week about the Fed's kind of curbing the the hikes in the prime rate, or something that comes into agreement. I don't know exactly what that is, but something to look for. That may at least give people a sense of maybe the recession won't be that bad. But again, um, just look at the motives. Things get rolled out and they seem beneficial. Investigate the motives behind it. I think that's really what that's trying to say. So you say nature, this key, yes. Yeah, so Sharita is expanding on what I'm saying about financial relief being false flags. That's a good way of putting it as well. It all really comes out of tax dollars. Remember that the big companies, pharmaceuticals, big tech, oil, all that stuff. They lobby for tax credits, tax breaks, and stuff like that, and favors from the government. So they're all in cahoots, basically. So what goes on comes out of our pockets. It's our money. It's our tax money, and taxes seem to have a way of keep going up. Also, as there's more, you know, stimulus packages. There's more quote unquote free vaccines that the governments pay the pharmaceutical companies for that come out of your taxes and stuff like that. So let's do a Native American card also. So this is the Native American Tarot. This is part of my repertoire of tarot time on Sundays. So as I'm doing this, Tuesday at 7, we're going to do psychic predictions for September. You're definitely going to be a busy month. You can check back if anybody's interested in my 2022 forecast. And of course, not everything came out to the letter. Even Edgar Cayce, Nostradamus, didn't pick everything 100%. But if you look at that, from a major world leader stepping down in July, which happened, Russian-Ukraine war, that was in the 2022 forecast. Most, if not at least some of the stuff is there. And then you can look back in August and see, that came out pretty accurate also. Again, this has nothing to do with me. It has other than the fact that I'm able to open up and get information from spirit to help guide us. Now, know that the future is all fluid. Time is fluid. It's part of consciousness. On some level, we create our physical reality because everything's energy and everything's interconnected. So we also create time to, on some level or another, and create the outcomes in our life. So as we change our vibration, that can change the outcomes. Look to astrology. We're going to have Sharita, as long as she's willing to come on the channel again. We're going to have her on the next couple of weeks to talk about what's going on. We're never doom and gloom here, but we're honest, so we don't sugarcoat it. But we'll always offer you solutions or possible solutions or what's the right word, or alternatives for affirmative action. Basically, it's not all doom and gloom, but this is an awakening. We live in a corrupt system. The corrupt system cannot survive the awakening. As humanity awakens more, it has to fall. When societies fall, there are hardships, there is pain, there is challenge or whatever, but there's also positive solutions. And at the end of the day, it's all part of our growth and evolution. Remember that, especially as things get hard, remember it's part of evolution. And remember to be within your trusted community. We help each other. That's why Spirit had me start this channel. Not that I'm looking to be like the Lord and ruler of some big community out there, but rather to be part of a larger community by creating this or helping to facilitate the smaller community. So what do the Native Americans want to say this morning? They want me to pull the Judgment card, which is number 20. Key 20. That's the Awakener, right? This is all about awakening. Let me see what this card looks like here. Almost like, I don't know if anybody can. Of course, it doesn't help if the card's going to be freaking fuzzy. I don't know what's wrong with my autofocus on my phone. That's weird. It's not autofocusing. Well, technology. Anyway, so you can't really see this. And everything. But it looks like there's a tree. It looks like there's roots. But in any event, the judgment. It's about awakening. It's about renewal, but it's very nature oriented in this. So in a way, I just feel like it's just sort of reiterating that we need to really be still more focused and aligned with our personal awakenings. And awakening to me is awakening to spirit and energy. The whole like political awakening thing that people talk about, like are you woke and all that stuff. I mean, that's just the tip of the iceberg as far as I'm concerned of what true awakening is. It's really understanding energy, understanding our place in the universe, understanding who we are, what we are, what our connections are and everything. And once that happens, then we start to see that we're much more powerful, than we're much more than our physical bodies, and much more than our physical thoughts and emotion. But there's a wellspring, there's a source that we're part of, that we can embody that and manifest that in our physical world also. So let me just, fill this out. It's a little, you can kind of get the idea anyway, even though everything's coming out real fuzzy. Close to our brain, well, you can kind of make out the fuzzy details of that anyway. Sharita, I was looking at at election day on the Uranus station and the eclipse. I was like, OMG, just wait, just wait. We started out by talking about Donald Trump. They wanted me to pull another card, so I didn't. It's the World card. So I got 20 and 21 both. It's interesting. It has a personal message for me, because and this month I'm leaving my 20 year, I guess it's a 2 year, and reduces to 2 and going into a 21. So in any event, so the World card is like completion, and that's a good positive thing. I think that the two of them, they're saying this is a good time to plant your roots. When Mercury's retrograde, it's not an action time. It's not a push forward time. It's a step back time. And it's a good time to plant roots, whether you want to start a business, or maybe you want to do a YouTube channel, or start to teach, or whatever it is that you want to do, or maybe just start a construction business, whatever it is, or start a relationship. Good time to set roots and to plan. The retrograde starts out in Libra, but it retrogrades back to Virgo, but the sun's still in Virgo. It's a really good planning time. So I think that's why they wanted me to pull a second card to complete that message. So anyway, moving right along, let's do our totem animal for the weekend, our angel card, and wrap it up. Okay, so what I have today, I have the Native American deck. Sometimes I use my spirit guide or animal totem cards. Being that this is really covering animals in North America, because it's Native American deck. So you're not going to get like emus or those weird ones. Well, I saw a hummingbird yesterday. That's beautiful. Hummingbirds are really about joy and being in our sense of joy and everything. So you can kind of see that. It's key 44. So 444 has significance, but certainly 44 does. It's all about joy and really finding joy. Finding that your nectar, finding that sweet nectar in life and such. I have my book a little bit out of arm's reach. So let me look up key 44. Now, in the original medicine cards, there were only 44 cards for the 44 medicine shields of the Plains people, the chiefs of the Plains people, but they actually added a few more. So the little poem, it says here, hummingbird, joyful little sister, nectar you crave, all the sweetness of the flower is the love you gave. And hummingbird is associated with the ghost shirt religion. Interesting. I didn't know that. Is associated with the ghost shirt religion, which taught that a certain dance done properly would bring about the return of the animals, and that white people would disappear. Well, I guess that hasn't happened yet. Once again, the original people would know the joy of the old ways. In Mayan teaching, hummingbird is connected to the black sun in the fifth world. Hummingbird can give us the medicine to solve the riddle of the contradiction of duality. So, I don't want to read too much of that, but I think that you get the idea. So again, when we go into the heart, we solve the riddle of duality. Now, duality is not a bad thing. Without duality, there'd be no physical reality. So don't hate on duality, but understand that all duality comes from a unified field of energy or consciousness, and we call that spirit or God. So the hummingbird medicine can help us to find that, and it's through the vibration of joy, because joy is a frequency that lifts us up to a higher consciousness and a higher awareness. closer to spirit, closer to God. So, and I was just, yesterday, outside just watching the hummingbirds on the trumpet flowers, getting their nectar and everything. So that's what I have for that. So, we'll get an angel message, and today has a hummingbird tattoo. That's beautiful. I love that. Yes, and Michael's saying it. And yeah, Michael and Sharita are having an amazing conversation here that I wish I could keep up with. Yes, and I agree. Untied to the united. Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. So these are Doreen Virtue's messages from the angels cards. All right. So ask the angels to guide me the right card. I found it. It's this one. Desiree, interesting. Because Desiree, to me, is about completions also. No, conditions aren't favorable right now. I used to know how to talk. Wait or look into other options and ask the angels to help, guide, and comfort you. Now, this really goes along the lines of the theme of the Mercury Retrograde. This is a time for planning. You know, if you absolutely must forge forward, sometimes you can swim against the tide. It takes more effort, but if you don't have to, why go against the currents of life and energy? More often than not, you're just going to wind up frustrated, angry, and probably a step farther back than you were. Go with the rhythms. Everything, energy works in natural rhythms. The movement of the planets can give us a snapshot of what those rhythms are. I mean, it can't give us the whole answer, but it can at least point us in the direction to find the truth of what it is. When Mercury is retrograde 3 or 4 times a year, don't forge forward, step back, fix things. Sometimes we have to redo things, and anything with the re prefix, right? So this angel message is, no, conditions aren't favorable right now, for something that you may be planning. Again, these messages are for certain individuals as well as us as a group. That doesn't mean they'll never be favorable. It's just saying they're not favorable now. Be present and be in the moment. And if you can really be in the moment, then you can feel the energy. And then if you have the tools of numerology and astrology, you can get concrete information to validate what you're feeling with your heart, and what your impressions are. So the idea is, this is more of a time for research. Anything with RE is good in the retrograde. Research. Virgo is a very patient, researching type of a sign. This is time to research things in your life and everything like that. So that's what I have for you now today. So Tuesday, psychic predictions. Friday, 9/9, we're going to do a full moon transmission. That's going to be at 8 o'clock because I'm working till 7:30. So that's going to be a little bit later. 8 o'clock on a Friday is not ideal for a lot of people. I know that. So they always get uploaded as videos. The transmissions have the same power whether you do live or as a video. For those that don't know, I work with a group. I call them the master teachers. They exist in frequency, not in physical reality. So they're not extraterrestrial. They're not ascended masters. They're interdimensional beings. And they can use channels like me to activate my energy fields and use my energetic body as well as my physical body to manifest both information and to transmit energy. Their purpose is to help us to awaken, to help us smoothly accelerate and enhance our frequencies, to heighten, raise our frequencies and vibration, to assist us and accelerate us in our awakening processes. From what I understand, that's what they do. That's what they've done around the cosmos for times, for infinite times. So perhaps when the Palladians were in their big awakening or their big evolutionary process, that the master teachers were working with their channels to help them with their frequencies, so they could um, awaken in a more of an accelerated and a smoother fashion. But in any event, it's very powerful work. It'll help. And because it's going to be right around that Mercury station also, a lot of this is going to be about clearing. This is a really good time to purge the old, Again, focus on the heart, expand to the heart, bring higher frequencies within you, around you, and through you. That's going to naturally purge lower frequencies. We just have to be okay with discomfort. If you feel uncomfortable, go back to the heart, breathe through it. Growth is not easy. Letting things go is not easy. We have programming that our subconscious mind is very comfortable with and believes that we need to survive. When we start to change it, the subconscious gets threatened. It starts to block us and makes it very uncomfortable. Things come up. Stay in the heart, stay in the presence, breathe through it. You'll get through it. And once that happens and your consciousness expands, it's going to be like, wow, amazing. If only I knew this. I'm 64 this month, and that expression "youth is wasted on the young" is really, really, really very on point. So anyway, that's what I have. Namaste, everybody. We'll see you next time.